Thank you, Professor Pfeiffer. And now I'd like to change the topic over to terahertz remote respiration rate monitoring. So this is a question for Professor Seidl and to Svenja Kobel. Can you tell me what are some of the unique selling points of terahertz technology in vital sign monitoring, and how does terahertz technology differ from, say, optical and radar technologies?
Yeah, maybe I will start to answer this question. So Terahertz has a lot of USPs. So firstly, it's completely contactless and also non-invasive. So that means it is really comfortable and also hygienic. So it's optimal for long-term monitoring and also for real-time monitoring. In contrast to microwaves, it has shorter wavelength and broader available bandwidth, and so it has enhanced range resolution. So this means we can detect such minor movements. So this is especially important if we want to detect the fine movements of the chest, for example, due to the heart rate. And in contrast to optical technologies, terahertz can penetrate opaque materials, such as clothing or, for example, medical bandages. So this makes it really practical for real-world settings. And also, unlike RGB cameras, it doesn't rely on ambient light, so we can also measure in the darkness. And one other really interesting aspect of terahertz is that it penetrates the upper layers of the skin, and there it interacts with superficial blood vessels. So we can potentially not only measure the heart rate due to the movement of the chest, but also directly measure blood volume changes. And this makes terahertz so interesting for non-contact vital sign measurements.
So, can you list a couple of promising applications we can see for terahertz technology in health monitoring?
Yes, I can answer this. As Svenja just said, it's non-invasive and continuous monitoring, and therefore we have very promising applications in healthcare monitoring. For non-invasive tracking of vital signs like the heart rate, but also for the respiratory rate, as we have shown in the talk. And yeah, it's very important, regular monitoring of these parameters. They are really crucial for early identification of healthcare risk. For instance, elevated resting heart rate can indicate potential cardiovascular issues, while respiratory rate serves as an early warning sign for severe events such as sepsis or cardiac arrest. And accurate monitoring of these parameters is also therefore very important. The ability of the terahertz technology to measure under various conditions, such as also Svenja has explained, through the closings or in the darkness, makes it really appealing for a range of applications. These applications can be envisioned in both clinical settings, but also in care settings, so everyday life settings.
And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's curious about this, but can you list some other vital signs that could be considered?
Here is Professor Karsten Seidl told, we started with the respiration rate in this talk, but we also want to analyze the heart rate, but also other vital signs are conceivable. For example, the breathing depth or the breathing volume, because we have the depth information from the terahertz waves. So one possible realization would be that we scan different parts of the chest, and then we can analyze the whole chest. And there the measurements would have to be really quickly, and this is one of the biggest challenges here, that we have to minimize the movement artifacts here.
And speaking about challenges, what do you consider some of those current challenges facing terahertz technology?
Yeah, the terahertz technology is currently in a still early stage of research. But currently we investigated the suitable frequency ranges and algorithms for these respective vital signs, and we have to do this in a systematic way. The measurements are currently still being taken in laboratories, and it's very important to to further develop these techniques and also to test them in real-life scenarios. In addition, the Terahertz devices itself, they are still quite buggy, so we have to minimize or to miniaturize the devices, the systems, and therefore also to reduce the costs of these systems. So at the end, they will be comparable to nowadays camera systems or radar sensors, or even there will be combined solutions.
And finally, just to bring this back to the bigger picture, what are the upcoming milestones or the next steps for the Terahertz NRW project in this area?
Yes, I think the biggest next milestone would be to analyze the heart rate. So we started with the respiration rate, but we also want to go for the heart rate, and it's much more difficult to do so because the movement is much more tinier. So we will not only analyze at the distance, the placement, but also, for example, the pulse modulation. And also we will look at the amplitude because, as I mentioned earlier, the terahertz waves interact with the blood. And so we maybe can detect the heart rate in this way. This is called terahertz plethysmography, which is really similar to the well-known photoplethysmography in the optical frequency range. And this will be the next step.
Well, thank you very much. So that does it for the questions we had for this round. I want to thank again our wonderful guests, Professor Karsten Seidl and Svenja Kobel. Thank you again for your wonderful presentation, and we hope to hear more about your work here in the Terahertz NRW project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.